ACC PM on a Monday, the last day of September, and the gang is all here in the old basement. Tom Luganville back from the Metroplex and points unknown in between.
I didn't realize I was going to walk into a heat box in here. We're doing a TV show and a sauna at the same time.
The old AC is out. And let me tell you something, I'm not going to complain because there are people who have suffered enough in the Carolinas, in the Southeast. If we don't have AC in the house, man, I'm just glad we got
a roof over our head.
Roof over our head. Because you go a neighborhood over, it looks like a bomb went off here.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Western North Carolina is
brutal. Right? My sister lives in Nashville, and they're underwater. And again, thoughts and prayers to everybody that was in the path of that crazy storm. And we lost a lot of lives, and Mother Nature was not messing around. So again, thoughts and prayers out to everybody if you're watching today. So I'm not going to complain about the AC being out in the house. I'm just glad we got a roof over our head. Brother Fuller is here. No storm today. He's happy about that. Captain Ron over there in the corner, drone flying fool with the Emmy Award. How's Kathleen doing? I know she's been struggling a little bit.
She's struggling. She's getting stronger every day and feisty. She'll let you know.
Oh, boy.
That's good.
Got a spicy one on your
head.
Yeah. You rascal.
Irish. No, Connor.
All right, here's what we got guest-wise. It's a quick 3-hour show because we are loaded with stuff to talk about. Guest-wise, David Hale's going to join us. And Billy Embody apparently going as the Mustang himself.
Yeah, apparently so.
I saw Billy Friday.
That's a good headshot.
Outside of our ACC PM location. Yeah. He got to be pretty excited. Got to be pretty excited after what the Pokes. I mean, they rocked it this weekend. The Ponies were good, man.
It was a good looking group on that night. Showed up to play, and they had everything going for them inside the building too.
Yep, they did a nice job. SMU had everybody on the hilltop feeling good about it. All right, we're going to start though with this craziness. As soon as you saw this Friday, you knew what we're going to lead off with on Monday, regardless of games. The game-winning touchdown by Virginia Tech, then Miami, then Virginia Tech, then Miami. Miami.
Eventually.
This was one of the all-timers, right? We're going to get into it, take a little deep dive today. Everybody's got an opinion one way or the other, or whether they got it right, got it wrong. Miami should have lost, should have won. Again, depending on your preference, you probably have a different opinion. Game tops are like, hey, man, Miami came with the ball. It's a W. Catch you later. You got before we get started with anything, you got the hotline number. Again, anything you want to go off on, let it rip. 860-766-4258. 860-766-4258.
Except Fuller.
Brother Fuller's fair game. That's exactly right. He's good. He's good. All right, let's get into that play. First of all, an amazing game.
Yes.
Right, which is unfortunately has been overlooked given the controversy at the end. The game was tremendous. It was a tremendous Friday night. If you had nothing better to do, put your feet up and watch a football game. Back and forth, old school rivalry. Miami playing lights out. Virginia Tech playing desperately with chip on their shoulder. I thought they brought their A game per se. But then you had the ending, and that's all anybody's talking about.
Yeah, it's glossed over what was a heck of a football game, and really the first time we've seen from Miami getting challenged. Right, and you and I were talking off air about Ole Miss not doing themselves any favors with the first 4 games of the season, and you could make an argument that Miami didn't either. They never played down to the level of their competition, but when they came into this one and they got punched in the mouth and they started having the ball run down on them, they didn't fold. And I think that's the one thing is they kept playing, and so they were challenged. They did respond, and you're right, it gets glossed over because of this play right here and everything that took place subsequently after. I thought the broadcast was all over it. They had every angle you could possibly have. Didn't help that the lights are going out and players are running around all over the field and the officials hadn't given an early call. That's the other thing in this, is regardless of whether you thought he caught it or not, it took forever to give some type of determination.
Okay, we're going to do, again, I don't know your opinion. You don't know mine.
Correct.
We kept that as separate because I knew we were going to discuss it live. Before we get into the deep dive, here are the two coaches, though, after the game. And you can imagine the vast array of emotion from both Coach Cristobal and Coach Bry. Here are the guys after the game Friday night.
To take that, to overturn it and take it from our kids, our coaches, our fans, I hope they got it right. I ran over and said, how did you rule it? He said, touchdown. And normally when you look at something that long, it doesn't get overturned.
Through that final play, what you saw on the field, and then the confusion afterward as you all thought they won, and they thought they won, then waiting for the replay.
I saw an incomplete pass. That's all I can say.
I think those two answers are very indicative. That's what I think. All right. Before you, again, no rooting interest. You want to be entertained. The game, like I said, the game was outstanding. Yeah. So I'm chilling out. We're in Dallas watching the game. Got the whole crew sitting there watching it. I got to tell you, and you can disagree with me, and that's fine. Again, that won't be the first time. I never thought there was possession in the first place. Right. And I know Hokie Nation. I'm married to a Hokie, so Packers. I got nothing to do with this. I'm just telling you what I thought I saw. And I'm not sure what a completed pass looks like anymore, quite frankly, whether it's the college game or the pro game. Right. We've seen enough of these plays where you're like, well, wait a minute, that looked like a completion to me. Well, you didn't have possession way through. Watching this, Tom, it looked like the ball's sitting there and everybody's still fighting. Again, I thought Virginia Tech initially looked like they had the ball, then the ball's kind of moving in that angle right there. Right? That's the one that I was like, well, I'm not sure he caught it or not. But here's what I do know. The officials have a much better view of it than I do. I'm sitting in Dallas. These guys are actually in the right position. Yeah. I mean, the officials were in the correct position to make the call. And eventually they ruled touchdown. All right? Now, again, if you train professionals, they call it a touchdown. If that's what it is, you want to look under it. I don't know how you overturn what the officials who have the best seat in the house called a touch. I don't know how you overturn it. Now, at the end of the day, I don't think he caught the ball.
Right, I don't either. So but that's not the determination that was made on the field. So they can
correct.
Only go based off of
and
that.
I think that's where all of the narrative and everybody's got an agenda and conspiracy theories and all this crazy stuff. I never thought there was a true, he caught it, came down with it, got it, and eventually the guy, now and again, Hokie Nation backing, yes, he did. I don't think he did. Okay. But the ref said, hey, touch. I don't know how you overturn it after you call a touchdown. I don't care if it took 20 seconds, 6 minutes, whatever. That's my 2 cents.
I'm not so sure he caught it either. And when it first happened, I actually thought it might have been intercepted with the Miami player laying on his backpack. But when the Virginia Tech player has the ball and is coming down, now he comes down in bounds. They confirmed that. He's in bounds. And before he hits the ground and then lays down, and he's right next to that Miami player who is half out of bounds and half inbounds.
Right, which is important based on the explanation from the league.
Correct, from the statement from the league. I did not think he caught it either. But could I definitively tell you, indisputably, he didn't catch it? No way. Could I indisputably tell you he did catch it? No.
That was where I was.
So because he made the call that was made on the field means that you have to come up with a way to prove otherwise. And the only time otherwise occurred was when both players were already laying on the ground. The ball's already dead. Then the Miami player pops it up. And that's the only time you see the ball actually move. But that was after the fact. Right. So they couldn't have used that to determine that the Virginia Tech player did not catch it from a video evidence standpoint.
And for the record, I mentioned the officials being in the right spot. It took them a while to determine touchdown, right? I mean, that wasn't one of those bang plays. You went, all right, decision is what? 1,001, 1,002, incomplete, touchdown. It took a while, and they finally went touchdown. And when they ruled touchdown, I'm like, man. Then you see the replay, you're like, well, there's no way you can overturn that.
Well, and they did. And the problem with the field judge, who worked to the sideline to the back pylon. He's at the back pylon. So that happens right in front of him. Those players go down. Yeah. But he's looking clear to the back of it. He can't see anything from his spot.
Doesn't know where the ball is.
And if you look at the replay, he runs up. The back judge runs up and meets him halfway. And they're having a conversation because the field judge is saying, I couldn't see it. What did you see?
Right. And they were in the right spot.
They were in the right spots. Yeah. And so you're not always going to be able to see it the way you'd want to see it. So I'm curious to hear between the back judge and the head referee when they discussed it, how it was relayed to the office in the command center, and then how that was relayed back.
Of course, it goes up to the press box to the command center. So you got all kinds of variables working on this one. Listen, it was incredibly controversial. Again, if you're a Miami fan, I think you take the approach of Mario Cristobal. Hey,
that's all an incomplete pass.
That's all incomplete. We win the game. Heck of a game. I mean, you fake left, go right, and on to the next question.
Right.
If you're Coach Pry, and again, if you didn't see his interview and you just read what he said, it's very different than watching what he said, right? Because you could tell smoke's coming through his ears.
Like, absolutely.
You've got to be kidding me.
So
right? If you rule it a touchdown, make sure you got the right call.
There's no question.
I get it.
Yeah, because that affects everything else.
No
we
question.
can sit here and talk about the fact that we didn't think he actually caught it in the first place, but because of the ruling on the field, that part doesn't matter.
Right.
So now we have to assume he did catch it. Show me he didn't.
Right.
And I don't think they ever did that properly. Now, I had tweeted out on Saturday morning after I gave this some thought, and I've been broadcasting the XFL and the UFL and professional spring football, and I will say this. What they do with their officiating process and the transparency of it and the ability for the viewer to listen in, see and hear the conversations from the command center back down to the field, actually visualize and see what's happening with your own eyes is the best thing that could happen to the sport of college football. Because initially when that was brought up, Pac, and I bring this up because when that was brought up, the officials were pushed back. No. We don't want to be held to that account. No.
Already tough enough.
What they ended up finding out is that it generated empathy for him. Because the fan and the viewer was now going, oh, well, I didn't realize that. That's a lot more gray than I thought it would be.
I've always thought the officials should be held to the same account as a player or a coach or a broadcaster after a game. And
officials are like weathermen.
Well, yeah, and listen, you should be allowed to come to the microphone and say, here's what I saw. Now, you guys may completely disagree and think I'm blind and have no idea or on the take and all the other conspiracy theories that every fan hears each and every ball game. But I think it's important for the official to tell everybody what they saw.
I do too.
Right?
I do too. And if you could do it in real time during the broadcast, it's even better.
You're right.
If I could sit there and hear whether it's Al Riveron or whoever it may be, Steve Shaw, and he's talking to the guy on site and he's got 7 different views of it, and they're talking rules and they're talking about what ifs and that's not a good angle. Let's look at it. It ends up being beneficial to the officials.
I think so too.
Because it reveals how hard the job is.
And it's an impossible gig.
Oh, it is.
And here's the worst thing.
They're not full-time. They're not year-round.
Well, here's the worst thing about their job. Number one, it's impossible. That's one.
Yeah.
Number two, when you do an awesome job, and a lot of guys do.
Nobody cares.
No one cares. You get no credit for being really good.
Yeah.
You only get acknowledged when you stink or blow something. And that is a helpless position.
It's like a lineman getting a penalty.
It's almost like being a teacher, quite frankly. We're not going to pay you. When you do a great job, there's a slight acknowledgement. But for the most part, it's all about the kid. But when you stink, man, we got to do something about it. I mean, it's really a thankless gig. And that was an incredibly difficult call with Miami, Virginia Tech. And like I said, if you're a Miami fan, you think they got it right. If you're a Virginia Tech fan, you thought you got absolutely hosed and screwed and there's conspiracies out. But that bang play, that was a really, really difficult deal there.
Well, and if you're Brent Pry, with how the season has begun for them, they came to play, man. They were ready to play. They were well coached. I did not agree with the field goal, fake field goal attempt. I thought that was completely botched.
Ran the football.
They ran the football well. If you're going to sit there and critique Miami and say, okay, well, where's the flaw after 5 weeks? Well, they didn't stop the run very well against a Power 4 team. But aside from that, I thought Virginia Tech played a good football game.
Yeah, again, incredibly entertaining.
Yes.
Regardless of the wild, crazy, bizarre ending from that perspective.